Meet the Lake Squad, kicking it seaside style in their cozy crib. We've got Mary, the supermom with a packed schedule. James, the non-stop dad. Uncle Desmond, the charmer with a forgetful streak. Tim, the awkward son. And Catherine, the wild child who goes by Kit Kat. Every New Year's, they throw a bash to end all bashes, bringing together fam and friends for a rip-roaring celebration. This year, though, Tim's feeling more like a fish out of water than usual. He's stuck playing sidekick to his pal Jay, getting tugged around the party like a rag doll. When the clock strikes midnight, Tim's got a sweet girl named Polly leaning in for a smooch, but he chickens out and shakes her hand instead. The next day, Tim's nursing a killer hangover when his dad James drops a bombshell. Turns out, the men in their fam, including Tim, have a crazy power. They can time travel. But there are rules. No jumping to places you've never been or times you didn't live through. And you gotta retreat to a dark spot, like a closet, to activate the power. At first, Tim thinks it's all a joke, but curiosity gets the best of him, so he decides to test it out. He steps into the closet, thinks about the party from last night, and boom. He's transported back in time, right in the middle of the action. As Tim wraps his head around this mind-bending revelation, he embarks on a journey of self-discovery and adventure. But with great power comes great responsibility, and James warns him not to abuse the gift. So Tim makes a vow to use his time-traveling abilities for good, to find true love. After some time, Kit Kat, the coolest member of the crew, decides to bring her boyfriend's cousin, Charlotte, to chill at their beach house for a couple of months. Now, Tim, he's all about making a killer impression on Charlotte, right? So, he sees his golden opportunity to shine by offering to help with sunscreen duty. He ends up spilling the entire bottle on her. Talk about a cringe fest. Now, feeling like he's just faceplanted in front of the love of his life, Tim decides it's time to hit the reset button. Literally. He whisks himself back in time to fix his sunscreen catastrophe and spends the summer trying to win Charlotte over. But no matter how hard he tries, it's like hitting a brick wall. Fast forward to Charlotte's farewell bash at the beach house. Tim's gearing up to pour his heart out to her, but bam. He gets shut down before he can even utter a word. Turns out, Kit Kat had already given Charlotte the lowdown about Tim's game plan. Ouch. But wait, there's a twist. Charlotte starts wondering if things might have gone differently if Tim had been straight up with her from the start. So, Tim has this light bulb moment and decides to spill his feelings to Charlotte way earlier in the summer. But even with a do-over, Charlotte suggests he try again on her last night there. And that's when it hits Tim like a ton of bricks. No matter how many times he tries to win Charlotte's heart, it's just not in the cards. So, he finally throws in the towel. Next thing you know, Tim's packing his bags and jetting off to London for a fresh start. But guess what? His new roommate, Harry, turns out to be a fiery playwright with a short fuse. Tim's love life hits a dry spell in the first half of the year. As a lawyer, he's mostly surrounded by dudes, not exactly prime romance territory. But then, a glimmer of hope appears when his buddy Jay drags him to Dan's Lenoir, a restaurant where you dine in total darkness. In the darkness, Tim strikes up a conversation with Mary, who's sitting next to him, along with her friend Joanna. They hit it off big time and have a blast. After dinner, they finally get to see each other's faces, and bam. Tim's blown away by Mary's beauty, and it's clear the feeling's mutual. She even slips him her digits before they part ways. Tim's floating on cloud 9 as he heads home, but his joy is short-lived. He walks in on his roommate Harry, who's fuming because the lead actor in his play forgot his lines on opening night. Determined to fix things, Tim whisks himself back in time to the theater just before the big night. He coaches the lead actor, Tom, to nail his lines. Crisis averted? Right. Not quite. Another actor flubs their lines this time. Back in the time travel saddle, Tim lends a hand to the second actor, and voila. The play is a smash hit. But when Tim checks his phone afterward, he's hit with a gut punch. Mary's number is gone, erased from existence by his time-traveling antics. Looks like his magical evening with Mary never happened. Feeling down in the dumps, Tim meets an over-the-moon Harry for breakfast the next day. Harry's bouncing off the walls because he found an ad in the newspaper for a Kate Moss exhibition in the city. Now, Tim remembers Mary being a fan of Kate Moss, so he decides to camp out at the exhibit all week, hoping for a chance encounter. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, Mary strolls in, and Tim's nerves go haywire. He musters up the courage to approach her, but things don't exactly go as planned. Turns out, Mary's got herself a new beau named Rupert, and Tim's heart sinks. But Tim's not one to give up without a fight. He digs for intel and learns that Mary and Rupert met at Joanna's party. So, he hatches a plan to rewrite history. Tim swoops in at Joanna's bash and convinces Mary to bail before Rupert shows up. She's hesitant at first, but there's this undeniable spark between them that pulls her in. As they make their escape, they cross paths with Rupert, who's cluelessly passing by the girl he's supposed to fall for. Meanwhile, Tim and Mary have a swoon-worthy dinner date where they bond even more. Tim walks Mary home, and one thing leads to another, they end up in the bedroom. But oh, it's not exactly smooth sailing. Tim stumbling over Mary's shoes and fumbling with her bra, making for a seriously awkward first time. Determined to get it right, Tim hits the rewind button and tries again. This time, he skips the shoe debacle and gets down to business with Mary. But perfectionist Tim isn't satisfied just yet. He keeps at it until they finally share the perfect night of passion. As time marches on, Tim and Mary's love story hits full bloom, culminating in them taking the leap and moving in together. One night at the theater with his coworker Rory, Tim bumps into Charlotte, but their encounter quickly turns awkward. Undeterred, Tim tries again, but lightning fails to strike twice. On his third attempt, he decides to play it cool, and to his surprise, Charlotte takes the initiative and strikes up a conversation. She invites him to dinner, where she opens up about her past regrets of turning him down. Later, she tempts Tim to join her inside her apartment, but he stands firm in his commitment to Mary. Tim's decision to turn down his past love sheds light on the depth of his feelings for Mary. With newfound clarity, he rushes home to propose, but the moment doesn't quite live up to his expectations, so he gives it another shot. This time, Mary says yes. Fast forward to summer, and Tim proudly introduces Mary to his parents. Mary instantly clicks with Tim's mom, while Tim bonds with his dad. Surprise, surprise, Kit Kat's back too, having had a rough time in London. When Tim and Mary announce their wedding and Mary's pregnancy, the Lake family erupts in joy. Despite a storm crashing their ceremony and reception, their wedding day is a blend of romance and laughter. However, when the tent blows away, they're forced to take refuge in the house. Never one to leave things to chance, Tim decides to tweak the lineup of his best man multiple times until he settles on his dad, ensuring their big day goes off without a hitch. Months fly by, and Mary brings their daughter, Posy, into the world. Tim finds himself enchanted by the highs and lows of parenthood, the tender moments and the tough challenges alike. With their growing family, they decide to settle into a new home, and before they know it, it's Posy's first birthday. As guests gather to celebrate, including friends like Harry and Rory, there's one notable absence: Kit Kat. Tim's worries deepen when he opens the door to find not his sister, but her troublemaking boyfriend, Jimmy. Turns out, Kit Kat and Jimmy had a blowout earlier, leading Kit Kat to drive to Tim's place alone. But her decision to drink and drive ends in a crash. Determined to help his sister, Tim rewinds time and picks her up from home instead. But even this intervention falls short. Kit Kat's drinking problem runs deeper, fueled by her tumultuous relationship with Jimmy. Tim tries to connect with her, but it's no use. In a last-ditch effort, Tim takes Kit Kat back to the New Year's Eve party where she first met Jimmy. This time, instead of flirting, Kit Kat unleashes her pent-up anger and decks Jimmy square in the jaw, even though he doesn't recognize her in this altered timeline. Returning to the present, Kit Kat has an epiphany. Her feelings for Jimmy were misplaced all along. Instead, she realizes her heart belongs to Jay. So, she gives romance with Jay a shot. And lo and behold, their relationship blooms into something beautiful, far better than anything she ever had with Jimmy. Back home, Tim's heart sinks as he realizes his daughter Posy has been replaced by a son. It's a gut-punching moment of shock. Quick to react, he dashes to the cupboard and zips back to his son's birth to seek advice from his dad, James. James lays down some hard truth. Messing with stuff before Posy's birth could mean a completely different kiddo. To keep Posy around, Tim can't mess with anything pre-Posy. Facing the brutal reality of losing his daughter, Tim makes a tough call. He zips back again to undo the changes he made to Kit Kat's life, letting her car accident play out. With Kit Kat in the hospital, Tim and Mary rally around her, offering their rock-solid support. Their presence gives Kit Kat the push she needs to turn her life around. Remembering the timeline where Kit Kat's happy with Jay, Tim nudges her to give it another shot. Back home, Tim's heart swells as he reunites with Posy, finding comfort in her familiar presence. Inspired by their renewed appreciation for family, Tim and Mary decide to expand their brood. Despite some initial doubts, they eventually welcome a son into their lives, ready to embrace the roller coaster ride of parenthood once more. And in their journey, they discover the enduring power of love, resilience, and the unbreakable bonds that hold them together. One evening, Tim and Mary are caught up in the excitement of preparing to meet her company's best-selling author. But amidst the flurry of activity, they accidentally leave Posey downstairs, where she wreaks havoc and destroys the manuscript from Mary's office. Tim's first instinct is to reach for time travel to fix the mess, but their plans take an unexpected turn when a call from his mother shatters their evening. James has been diagnosed with terminal cancer. Rushing to the beach house, Tim, Mary, and Kit Kat confront the harsh reality of James' illness. Despite Tim's yearning to use time travel to erase his father's suffering, James delivers a poignant truth. Meddling with the past risks erasing Tim and Kit Kat's existence altogether. In a moment of profound wisdom, James imparts a lesson far more valuable than altering the past: to embrace life's ordinary moments and cherish its simple joys. He urges Tim to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience. Taking his father's words to heart, Tim learns to find happiness in both the mundane and extraordinary moments of life. Yet, there are days he wishes he could rewrite, like the one when his father passes away. Reluctant to bid farewell, Tim turns to time travel one last time, seeking solace in visiting his father in happier times. Though James eventually passes away, Tim finds solace in knowing he can revisit those cherished memories whenever he longs for his father's presence. After some time, Mary springs a surprise on Tim. She wants to expand their family and have a third child. While Tim's thrilled at the idea, there's a tinge of hesitation. Adding another child means saying goodbye to his time-traveling adventures with his father. After some soul-searching, he decides to embrace the future and agrees to Mary's plan. As Mary's pregnancy progresses, Tim grapples with the reality of his final visit to his father in the past. Each day brings a heavy weight of farewell as he prepares to say goodbye to those cherished moments. He travels back in time, savoring every last moment with his dad, knowing it's their final encounter. They share a silent understanding, acknowledging the inevitable parting that awaits them. As a gesture of their bond, they revisit Tim's fondest childhood memories, reliving carefree days by the beach. Amidst laughter and nostalgia, they soak in the joy of their shared experiences. With a heavy heart, Tim bids his father farewell and returns to the present, just in time for the arrival of their third child. Years zip by, and Tim immerses himself in the whirlwind of family life. Mary completes their brood, while Kit Kat also welcomes a child with Jay. In the midst of everyday chaos, Tim finds solace in the simple joys of parenthood, relishing the laughter and messiness that fills their home. Choosing to leave time travel behind, Tim embraces the present moment with newfound appreciation. He learns to treasure every fleeting second, finding beauty in life's mundane moments. In this second chance at living, he discovers that true happiness lies in being fully present with his loved ones, embracing the journey ahead with open arms. And that's where this video ends. Watch the next one and take care.